All right, today we are going to be doing lesson 4, adding and subtracting decimals. So the front side of your notes is adding, and there'll be a you try problem on that side, and the back side is subtracting, and you will have another you try problem on that side. Okay, so when you are adding decimals, step 1 is to write down the numbers one under the other with the decimal points lined up vertically. Step 2, if there is no decimal in the number, put a decimal point at the end of the number. So if you're just given a whole number, like 58, your decimal would come at the end, just like that. Add the numbers together and bring down the decimal in the answer, right under where you lined them up. Then check your answer using estimation. Okay, so here's a visual for you up here, 528 plus 7 49/100ths. You can see that since this was a whole number, a decimal was added to the end of it, lined up the decimal in the other number, and added vertically. Okay, so example 1, we put the decimals in here for you to make sure that you line them up correctly. So it is a good idea to just write down your decimal points right away so you can fill in your numbers correctly. So I have 15 4/10, and then I have 7, 2, 3, 5, 4. Okay, and you can even right away bring down your decimal in your sum. I'm going to put my addition symbol here to show that I'm adding, and then I am going to fill in zeros where there are missing or blank spaces, okay, to make it easier to add. Remember, adding zeros to the end here is not going to change the value, and you can even add a 0 here if you want. 0, 7 would be the same thing as 7. Okay, then you can just go ahead and add. 0 plus 4, I'm going to change my color. 0 plus 4 is 4, 0 plus 5 is 5, 0 plus 3 is 3, 4 plus 2 is 6, 5 plus 7 is 12, and then 1 plus 1 plus 0 is 2. Okay, now I'm going to check my answer using estimations. So 15.4 rounds to 15, 7.2 rounds to 7, 15 plus 7 is 22. So this answer looks like it's correct. If I accidentally put my decimal point in the wrong spot, like here or here, my answer would not make sense. 15 plus 7 is nowhere close to 226 or 2,263. So it's a good way to make sure your decimal is in the correct spot. Okay, example 2, I have 3 numbers that I'm adding this time. I am going to add my decimal points right away, just like they were in this problem, so I don't mess up. So I have 1, 2, 3 numbers. My first number is 3.72, 6.80, 6, 4, and this number is a whole number. It has no decimal in it. So remember, step 2 says if there is no decimal in the number, the decimal comes at the end. So 5 and decimal. Okay? I'm going to fill in zeros in those blank grid spaces to make it easier to visualize, and then I'm going to add. Okay, so I have 0 plus 4 plus 0 is 4, 0 plus 6 plus 0, 6, 2 plus 0 plus 0, 2, 7 plus 8, 15, 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 5 is 15. And my decimal, I'm going to actually put that in the pink, lines up with the decimals in my problem. Okay? I'm going to check with estimation. 3.7 is about 4, 6.8 is about 7, and then 5. So 4 plus 7 is 11, plus 5 is 16. That's pretty close. 15.5 rounds to 16. So that number, or that answer, I'm sorry, looks like it's correct. Okay, so there's a you try problem that you can go ahead and try before you move on to subtracting decimals on the other side of your notes. Okay, there are very similar steps for subtracting decimals. Step 1, again, write down the numbers, one under the other with the decimal points lined up vertically. It's really important to remember that when you are subtracting, you need to put the numbers in the order that they are given to you. The first number in your problem has to be the top number when you line them up, okay? If there is no decimal point in the number, put a decimal at the end of the number. So I'm going to show you that again. If your number was 72 and there's no decimal, you just add it to the end like that. Subtract the numbers together and bring down the decimal in the answer. Check your answer again using estimation. Okay? Problem 3. Oh, and we have a visual up here for you just like on the front. Problem 3. I'm going to put my decimals in right away so I don't forget. I have two numbers, 88 and 39 hundredths. Oops, sorry, 88 and 39 hundredths, and then I have 20, sorry about that, 20 and 8 tenths. Okay, I am subtracting. Make sure you write that down for yourself so you don't accidentally add. And I'm going to fill a 0 in right here in the hundredths place. Okay, so I have 9 minus 0 is 9. Can't do 3 minus 8, so I'm going to borrow. This becomes 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. 7 minus 0 is 7. 8 minus 2 is 6. My decimal is going to go in my answer right under the decimals in my problem. Okay, this number rounds to 88. This number rounds to 21. 88 minus 21 is 67. So that answer looks like it is correct. Okay. Next problem, example 4. I'm going to put my decimals in again right away, one on top of the other. I have 95, which doesn't have a decimal in it, so I know that's going to come at the end of the number. So my 95 will line up right here with the decimal at the end, and then 27 and 36 hundredths. So this is where sometimes kids make mistakes. This has more digits in it, so you think you would put this one on top, but you do not. 95 is bigger than 27, so I can't start with 27 and subtract 95. I have to start with that bigger number, the number that comes first. Okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and fill in zeros, and I know I will be subtracting. Okay, so I cannot do 0 minus 6, and I can't borrow from this 0 because there's nothing there to borrow. So I have to come to the 5, and I'm going to make that 4. Then this will become a 10. Okay, now I can borrow from this number, make it 9, and this one will become 10. Okay, so be careful when you're subtracting whole number minus a number with a decimal. Okay, so 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 3 is 6. I cannot do 4 minus 7 because 4 is smaller than 7, so I have to borrow again. And this becomes 14. 14 minus 7 is 7, and 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, my decimal goes directly below the decimals in my problem that are already lined up. Okay, example 3, one more before your U try. Just have to move this up a little bit. All right, last one, 38 and 5/10 minus 27 and 68/100. So I am going to put my decimals into my problem right away. I'm going to line them up starting with my top number. Put that in right away because I am subtracting. I'm going to put a 0 here to fill that space. I cannot do 0 minus 8, so I'm going to borrow. Then this becomes 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. I cannot do 4 minus 6 because 4 is smaller than 6, so I'm going to borrow again. This becomes 14. 14 minus 6 is 8. 7 minus 7 is 0. And 3 minus 2 is 1. I'm going to bring that decimal down in my answer. And that is it. So go ahead and try your U-Try. Make sure you get both U-Try problems checked, both your addition and subtraction problem.